Hello, Fishy Wizard 5 here. So, you might have heard people say that combat in Brighter Shores is slow and boring and like an AFK cutscene. Rather than just like attacking an AFK. This game, since it locks you into combat, but they're wrong. You actually have a lot of agency in combat in this game. So much so that you can take on an enemy that is 10 plus levels higher than you and still win. And I have the tips in this video to show you how to do such a feat. So the first thing that I want to address is that weapon attack speed in this game does matter. Now, the game does not make it easy to tell the attack speed of a weapon. You kind of just have to use a weapon on an enemy and just figure out yourself how fast it is. You actually can tell visually what the attack speed of a weapon is. When you're attacking, you'll see a circle that fills up clockwise and also a bar that fills up from bottom to top. The circle that fills up is the animation of your attack, which seems to be constant across all weapons, and the bar that fills up is the delay between each attack that you do. So that bar that fills up from bottom to top is the weapon's attack speed. But those of you who, especially played old school RuneScape or RuneScape way back in the day, know that the attack speed of a weapon is very important because it directly affects your damage per second. A weapon that is slow attack speed but higher damage might actually not even do as much damage as a weapon with less damage but much higher attack speed. So if you find a weapon that doesn't have a high damage stat, don't immediately just throw it away. Use it a little bit and see if maybe the attack speed of the weapon is very high, so the weapon is actually pretty useful. Another thing worth mentioning is that when you're in a sudden death scenario with your enemy, but your weapon has higher attack speed than your enemy, a lot of the times, if you're 1 HP and they're 1 HP, you're going to end up getting the killing blow rather than the other way around because you have the faster weapon. So that in itself is another reason to use a high attack speed weapon. But don't get me wrong, I'm not saying all weapons with high attack speed are better than slow weapons with, high weapon damage. So just take it as it is for your preference sake. Now, the next thing that I want to cover, and is especially important if you're fighting a very, very high HP enemy, whether it's just much stronger than you or a boss, is use your healing potions off cooldown. Healing potions in this game, as of right now, have a very long animation to consume and also a fairly long cooldown. So you can't just, when you're low HP, just drink a ton of them and heal back to full, like in RuneScape. This is important to know because if you're just not paying attention and then your HP gets low and you start drinking potions, you're gonna not end up killing the enemy and you're just gonna end up wasting a bunch of potions because they kill you and then you have to get more potions, basically losing all the potions that you drank in that fight for free. A good tip from me is that if your HP is lower than your enemy's HP that you're fighting, it's generally a good idea to use a potion, because they're just gonna out DPS you in the end and you're just gonna die. So if your HP starts getting lower than your enemies, just start chugging potions. My next tip is utilize movement in battle. This usually applies to melee enemies only, but I guess there are scenarios where if a ranged enemy has low range, you could also do this. But moving while you are in combat is especially important if you want to use all of your ranged hits in a fight. You should treat ranged hits in Brighter Shores as basically just free hits that you can get on your enemy that your enemy just doesn't even get onto you. So basically, it's just like, by the time that you and your enemy just start meleeing each other, the ranged hits that you get in are just them starting with lower HP in the fight. So how you actually can use all of your ranged hits before a fight starts is stand on the furthest tile that you can from an enemy before a fight, and attack them with the ranged weapon, then as they start moving closer to you, spam move away from the enemy, and also spam the keybind that you have for the ranged weapon. So when you press the keybind for the ranged weapon, it will automatically override your movement. So if your bow is ready and off cooldown to attack again, then pressing the keybind will automatically make your character shoot again. So if you're moving away from the enemy while you are attacking with ranged, you will use all of your ranged hits before the enemy even hits you. So you'll have a huge head start in the fight. Now, my next tip is kind of like a combination of the last two tips, but I do think it's important enough to have its own kind of section. So this tip is to run away if you need to stall a potion cooldown or special attack cooldown. It's as simple as it sounds. So normally you and your enemy move at the same pace. If you and your enemy are meleeing each other and you start moving away from them, they will probably get one more hit on you, but after that first hit, you should just be running away if you have space, and your enemy will just chase you. And then they will not be able to hit you as long as you're moving. So if you're waiting for a cooldown on a potion or something else, then this will just give you free time to stall, and you can just get another potion in. I would say that this is much harder to do in just normal like mob fights in the open world, because the world is not very big, but a lot of boss areas do have open areas, so make sure you utilize those in boss fights especially, because you might need to do that a lot in order to not die. My final tip for this video is to utilize the terrain in your fights. So similarly to the previous point of using all of your ranged hits, utilizing terrain will also help you get all of your ranged hits into an enemy before they, you start meleeing, especially in areas where you can't really run away. And you might be wondering, oh, well, if the enemy is aggressive, it'll just immediately hit me right away, and I won't even get to use any ranged hits. That's true, but there is a tool in-game that will allow you to still get your ranged hits even on aggressive enemies, and that is using a fear potion. So the fear potion will make aggressive enemies unaggressive to you, so you're able to actually get into position before initiating a fight. So those are all of my combat tips. Please let me know in the comments if any of these tips helped you in combat in Brighter Shores. And definitely let me know if you have other tips that you think I missed. It'll be greatly appreciated from me. And I hope you all enjoyed. Happy hunting out there.